My newsletter is actually in two parts. So there's a 365-day daily newsletter. It's a tiny newsletter, so usually one paragraph or less, that comes through Monday through Friday, every weekday, and that's built in what's called a sequence. So I'm just adding to it every single day. Every now and then, if I am going on vacation or something, I'll add like 2 or 3. But in general, it's built as a sequence. So it's just added onto every single day. The weekend edition, however, is my long form newsletter. It's what most of you have seen. And the long form newsletter is super fun to write for me. It's literally like my Saturday morning. I get to go to a coffee shop that I love, and I sit there Saturday morning and I write my newsletter, and that's something that I just love to do. So it was originally intended to just keep me in a writing cadence, but also served as like a really good way to experiment, to share what I'm doing, to get into dialogue with readers. Like, I've met so many amazing people who read my newsletter who've just, like, I just met them because they downloaded a resource that I had made. And, they respond back with stuff that they like, or with any questions that I ask, they send back an answer to. And it's a really great way to be in dialogue with people in general, right? A lot of people think that I use the newsletter as like a way to get leads for my service business. That could not be further from the truth. I don't actually want more clients for my service business. It's pretty capped at the moment. It really is just like the retainer clients that I have on, and I took on my last sort of one-off project like 2 months ago. So that's definitely not the intention. If I've built their website or if I've helped them with some systems dev, I still am definitely open to supporting them and working with them long term. It's definitely not my intention with the way that I want to monetize the newsletter going forward. So that being said, how am I monetizing this newsletter? I am doing so through 2 routes: affiliate marketing and sponsorships. So both of those things are what's making money with the newsletter. Now, to be fair, definitely not making a lot of money with the newsletter. It's basically just kind of paying for itself at the moment. But people ask, how do you get the affiliates? I had a conversation with Simon Owens yesterday, who has an amazing media newsletter. I think it's simonowens.substack.com if you're interested. But he was asking, how do you find your affiliates? Like, can anybody email you? And the answer is no. These are tools that I've used for a long time, most of them, like the grand majority of them. Some of them are newer tools that I've used recently, that I've just experimented with. And part of my job as a consultant is to know sort of like what might work for who and in what cases, right? And so over the years, I've built this database of tools that I use all the time. Most of them had an affiliate program. The ones that didn't, I straight up emailed them and asked, do you have an affiliate program? Some of these companies made an affiliate program because I asked them to. So that was really cool. But you'll notice a sort of like rotating list of affiliates in my newsletters in both the daily and the weekend edition. A lot of them are going to be rotating the same tools because I love them, I know them, and I trust them. Every now and then I do have sponsorships, so it's not a lot. It's probably like I would say like a 90-10, maybe like an 85-15 ratio of affiliates to sponsorships. These are people that I've either like met in communities, Jay Klaus's community, Small Bets by Daniel Vassallo. These are 2 like communities I'm pretty active in. It's usually people that I know that have their own business that reach out and say, like, I would love to sponsor your newsletter. And since we have about 93% of people that are on my newsletter are self-employed or experts in some way or another, and so they want to reach those people and they will sponsor a newsletter. So that's been really exciting, very new for me. I definitely did not have any experience with sponsorships. So it's very new for me, but it is a really good way to get in front of a targeted list. And because I already know them through a community, we're already sort of values aligned in lots of ways. That said, not everybody can sponsor a newsletter. I'm really intentional about that. There have been people who have asked who I have said no thank you. But for the most part, the people that reach out are pretty well aligned. And so I think that's a really big thing. I think that's all I have as far as like the general overview. And what I would love to do now is just give you a behind the scenes look at my ConvertKit dashboard. And I'm going to warn you, some of the numbers there do not make sense because when I first started ConvertKit, I had incorrectly tagged lots of people, and I had to remove like 80 some subscribers. Luckily, and this is how you can tell if you should stick with a company, but luckily their support had been amazing and they helped me with this whole process. So a company with good support is a company you want to give money to. In general, I think it'll be really helpful to kind of see behind the scenes and see what I'm doing with it, and maybe it will inspire you. So here is my ConvertKit dashboard. I've already logged in, and you'll see a few different things. If you're brand new to ConvertKit, I'll just run through really briefly what everything means and what it is, and you can just get a good feel for it. So first things first, what it does is it has this little revenue dashboard. By the way, this is not something I set up. It actually comes natively with ConvertKit, which is really cool. But you'll see this total amount is $6,086. That's actually coming from Gumroad for the most part. I don't actually use the ConvertKit Commerce, although I'd love to try it out in the future. This is an integration with Gumroad, so anytime people purchase in Gumroad, or even if it's a free resource, I'll do like a pay what you want, and that's something that people have contributed to. So it keeps track of that, which is really nice. You can see in the past 30 days, I made about $59. It says it's down 29.5%. Normally, it's about $80 a month, so which is really nice. It pays for ConvertKit and a little more. I call it my insurance money, so that's how I use that here. The new subscribers, this is really neat. You can see like today there isn't anybody yet. In the past 7 days, there's 10, which is down. Actually, normally it's about 20, 18 to 20. In the past 30 days, 60 new people, which is really cool. And currently a little over 900 people in my overall list. And then here, this is really interesting. I've been paying attention to this. There's the Creator Network, Daily Inspire sign up, which is my landing page, and then newsletter, which is actually my mushi.co, has its own form, and people get sort of funneled into it this way as well. Now, this section goes through the top forms and landing pages, basically answers the question of like, where are people coming from? Where are my latest subscribers coming from? So this newsletter section here is actually just a newsletter block that I have in my Squarespace website, which is mushi.co. That's my overall sort of general website. That newsletter block just integrates with ConvertKit. People sign up there, and they get put into my general newsletter list here. Then there's the Daily Inspire sign up. So these are people who have opted in through the dailyinspire.co landing page. And then there's Creator Network, which I don't know if you can tell, but is working really well for me. Creator Network is ConvertKit's new add-on to all of their paid platforms, where if someone signs up for another newsletter, they can that creator can put me as one of their top newsletters as well. And so as soon as you sign up, it'll say like, Jay Klaus recommends Tanya Mushi, and someone can just do like a one-click opt-in. So it kind of gives a nice bit of validation and social proof, and people read about it, and if it feels right to them, then they just sign up. So as you can see here, out of all of the landing pages and the forms that are working for me, that Creator Network is working pretty well. And this is a fairly new feature from ConvertKit, so. But definitely one that is worth exploring if you're interested in that kind of growth. Now, we've got the subscriber scoring. I don't really know what that is, so we're just going to skip right over that. I think it just has to do with like how many the people that open your emails the most or who engage the most. That's kind of how that goes, from what I understand. Now here, this is really interesting, and this is actually what got me to love ConvertKit, this total emails sent. Before we get into that, this is pretty straightforward. Average open rate of 57%. Average click rate is just under 5. And then total emails sent is 14,000, so almost 15,000. I don't pay too much attention to this yet because I'm still really playing with this. But something that got me is this total emails sent. Typically, if you've used something in the past like MailChimp or any other tool, you just sort of send out emails. If you have a list of like 500 people, it'll say 500 emails sent. But the reality is there's actually a lot more touch points than we consciously think of. So for example, someone signs up to dailyinspire.co, and they get a confirmation email, that's 1 email. Then they get a welcome email, that's 2 emails. Then they get their first email, that's 3 emails. And this does a really good job of helping you see how many actual touch points you have with people. I think that is super powerful. So it's something I really, really like, and gives you a bit of insight into how much what you do matters. So that's kind of cool. At least all the opportunities that you have. So that's neat. Now, there's a few tabs up top. If you're familiar with ConvertKit, you can skip over this part. But if you're not, the Grow tab is where you get all of your subscribers, and then you create landing pages and forms. And then the creator profile is fairly new as well from ConvertKit. It just kind of, you just sort of like set up a profile. And then the creator network is pretty new, and this is that actual network to partner up with other creators. The most important thing in this section, in my opinion, is landing pages and forms. So you'll see a bunch of random ones in here because I test things out all the time. So you can basically see where people come in from. Something like this here, the newsletter. I have to check these numbers. I have not seen this before. But the newsletter landing form, this is what's on mushi.co. So this is, if I go here, hopefully this will still show on the screen. If I go all the way in the bottom, stay connected beyond social media, this is the landing form. Or excuse me, this is the form that goes into the newsletter bit. And then for Daily Inspire sign up, that is over at that dedicated page. And that is this guy right here. People sign up here, and that's, that's where that comes through. So it's basically just a way to manage how people come in. And what's really nice is that all of these forms can be put in different areas, so they can be put on different pages. It's a nice way to track things and to give you some insight into where and how people are coming in to your newsletter. Now, if you're migrating, if you're moving over from MailChimp or something, you'll want to use the subscribers tab. I'm not going to go in there yet because it shows email addresses, but in general, you can just import a list like a CSV file, or you can manually add subscribers there as well. Super easy to do, and you can also tag them as they come in, which is kind of nice. So like I had imported a client list, and I had them tagged as previous clients. So just to give you some insight into how to do that. Now, the send function is where all of the magic happens, as cheesy as that sounds. And here's how I use it. So sequences is for that daily weekday edition, and then broadcasts are for my weekend edition. The email templates bit is basically exactly what it sounds like. You set up an email template, and then you use it. So I have, for example, I have one for the weekend edition, and then I have like a classic one, which is for my weekday edition. So it's super short and sweet. I don't want it to be long. It's a weekday. I want people to read it and get something from it, get a little spark, and then carry on with their day. But the weekend edition is a little bit more long form, and so it has something called like a super signature. So I'll show you what that looks like. So you can see here, this template always has this section here, and then I've got my little signature bit, and then this is called a super signature, which is very cool. And I learned about it from a few different people, but it's really nice. Works really well for long form emails. So this goes out in every single weekend edition newsletter. And then I'll show you that regular daily one. Super straightforward. You can see I've got a default affiliate link here, which is ConvertKit, because I love them. I've been really enjoying being on their platform, so I've got them as the default, but I swap that up every now and then. Nothing too fancy happening here with that intro. It's really just a place to have that sort of 1 to 2 line email go out every day. So I want to keep this short and sweet on purpose. And let's see. So if I go into sequences, this is where the weekday edition happens. You can see there's a bunch of sequences here because I like to play with things, but the one that's going to make a difference to you is this Daily Inspire sequence. And the numbers are a bit off on this because I had incorrectly tagged people. like 80 of them that I had to manually remove. So that was on me. But you can see here, so a sequence is basically just every single day you will add to your sequence. And so someone who joins tomorrow is going to get this welcome email, and then they're going to get my second email, third email, fourth. Now, if I have something timely that I want to deliver, or something that is just really, hitting me at the moment, it's not necessarily like an evergreen thought, then I will basically pause this and then send out a broadcast and then add to this later. But for the most part, I am every single day adding to this sequence. And so the very first email somebody gets is a welcome email. And this is just a story of how this newsletter started, something you've actually heard before, or if you're on my list, you have probably seen something like this. And then every single day, literally every single day, I just add to this, and I can reorganize things as I want. But in general, I could just go in and I can edit as needed. And I'll tell you how I sort of pay attention to the data and what to edit in a bit. But you can see there's quite a bit. There's over 200 emails in here. And I reorganize them as needed. And like I said, if it's something is timely, I just pause things and send it out. But in general, I try to be really evergreen in my thinking. I try to stick with things that are going to resonate with people who are doing hard things, and people who are either entrepreneurs or aspiring entrepreneurs, or someone who's just like, doing the work in life and could use a little bit of encouragement and a little bit of motivation. I think just having that is helpful. So I'm a big believer that words really do help people. And yeah, I think that's just important to have. So this is a really fun experiment. Again, the first part of my newsletter, it's a 365-day experiment. So after 365 days, people will only be getting the weekend edition of my newsletter. More than likely. I'm pretty sure that's how it's going to go. So anyway, this is how the weekday edition is done. Before we head into how I do the weekend edition, I want to show you something that's kind of helpful, and I just think is kind of cool. So if I go here to reports, it basically shows me what's working, what's not working. So I know, for example, this path to pivoting email might not be people's favorites because that's where most people are dropping off. And I kind of pay attention to that. But then I can kind of see, like, after a certain point, most people stick on, which is really kind of nice. And then I can see what affiliate links or sponsorship links are working really well. And I do that by analyzing the click rate. So you can see here it's like 6.4, 3.2, but then there's a couple that are crazy, like 28.6. And then I also pay attention to the open rate. So we hear all the time how important subject line is, and it's true. There are some that have much lower open rates than others, but in general, I'm pretty happy with this so far. So, I try to look for these signals that stand out. So an 82.1% rate, this clearly sparked some curiosity in people. So it's something that I might want to consider doing more of in the future. And yeah, I think it's been a really cool way to analyze the data. Okay, so let's hop into the weekend edition. I'll show you how I do that newsletter. Most of you are on the weekend edition. That's the one with just under 1,000 subscribers. And so you can see here, everything is just a new broadcast. So what I usually do is I actually just duplicate one that I like, and then I will go in and change all the content in it. But this one, for example, how to connect with clients, you can see it's got a 48.5% open rate, 4.4% click rate, 175 clicks. Now, if I click on this, here's what I do. First of all, it'll tell you how many clicks, certain links got. And what I like to do is just duplicate it. So I actually just duplicate it here. And I'm just going to do that right now, and I'll prep it for next week. And then I go in, and this is a previous newsletter, so I'm going to go in and literally just delete everything and add to it. And I've tried to keep, for the most part, a similar structure. Still definitely something I'm refining, but in general, it's basically like one concept. This stays the same, except this gets updated every week. But the intro stays the same. And then there's like some kind of concept or something I've learned or something I just think would be worth sharing and would be helpful. So one concept or insight in the the first portion, and then the second portion is literally just like behind the business, what I'm doing, in case it is inspiring to others. And again, like you've seen here in the template, you see that super signature. That's always there. But there is this part here, which is really cool. This is called a reaction. So sort of like a reaction test. And for that, I use a free tool called reactions.sparkloop.app. Anybody can use it. See if they'll let me log in. And I literally make this every single week. So you can see there's there's one for every week. But the way that it works is you just hit new question, and then I just use the first 3 reactions. Some people like to use the emojis. I actually manually do like the love it, like it, or do better. And the way that I do that, actually, for the most part, I just duplicate one from the previous week. So I'll duplicate that. And then I have this love it, love this, dig it, do better. And what I do is first of all, I update the name so I know, which newsletter it corresponds to. And then I go to the embed page. I put track who clicked a reaction. I go to ConvertKit. I don't actually track who clicks, but I think it's like good to have in case I ever do want that. But I put ConvertKit there. I copy to the clipboard, and then when I go here, I just come in and I literally just paste it in there. And you can see this is in my old link color, so it's just gonna, it's just gonna keep that for now. But that's really how I make my newsletter. Hopefully this gave you a really good overview of how I create my newsletter in ConvertKit. If you'd like to try it yourself, they do have a free plan. I'll link it below. It is an affiliate link. That means I get a small commission if you do end up using it. What's actually really nice about a lot of these affiliate links is that they allow you to be what's called like an agency partner, meaning if you're helping someone set up their ConvertKit account, you basically get like a seat for free, which is kind of nice. Because otherwise clients would have to pay for that extra seat. So if it makes sense for you, then please use that link and give it a shot. And if you're already using ConvertKit, then congratulations. Those are the big things. There's really so much more to the platform. There's like the visual automations, there's rules, and so I have a few of those. So you can see I actually have quite a bit of rules. Some of them are like these automatic rules. I don't do any of these things, but I did do certain things like if they purchase my book, they get a tag, Love is the Business Plan. If they subscribe to the newsletter block, then they get a tag of just weekly only. So like if somebody subscribes to the newsletter block, I don't want them to be in the weekday edition if that's not what they intended. I just have them for the weekly newsletter. Here is a link tag, meaning like if somebody clicks on this particular sponsor link, then they get tagged with SS Fundamentals. Like they might be a really good fit for the SS Fundamentals course that I'm refining. So that's how that works. I think hopefully this is helpful. If you have any questions, I do have that open office hours available this Wednesday, 7/19, July 19th, from 12 to 1 p.m. PST, that's Pacific Standard Time. And if you have any questions along the way, please don't hesitate to reach out. And I hope this was helpful. Bye.